The At Your Insta podcast is brought to you by Comictown. Check them out at www.comictown.net or search for Comictown Gaming Center on Facebook. Hello, and welcome to At Your Instep. My name is Morgan, and I'm here with Mike.
Hi.
And Dave.
Yo.
Yeah, I powered through it.
Yeah, in years past, that would have really tripped you out, but you have done a good job.
I have, most certainly, because that's what I do.
It's like when a free throw shooter, like everybody tries to mess him up, and then eventually you just get used to the crowd, and you're just like, I don't care.
I don't think Shaq ever did.
Yeah. And just actually, despite Mike, his mic was actually off a little bit when we started the show.
Oh, so was I? So it was either really quiet or like distorted. So just
you were definitely you're
you
definitely a little quiet, but it did deter you from actually saying hello.
It didn't.
Well, it didn't deter him at all because he still did it.
Yeah, like how could I be deterred if I don't know about it?
I guess it's true. It was my own subtle subliminal sabotage against you.
Did you see the sign? No, you never put the sign out.
Yeah, if you really wanted to spite him, you could just keep it off the whole time.
That's true.
That would probably take away from the experience of
that'd be
the
a bit
listener.
rude. It would kind of ruin our entire show. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't really want to do that. It'd be fun,
He's not
though.
that spiteful.
Yeah, it's true.
Give it time. We're not quite to 200 yet.
So we hope that you enjoyed our Palooza.
We got some good feedback. We did get told that one of our jokes on the Palooza almost caused a person to swerve off the road.
We apologize?
And no, we don't apologize. We don't. I told him, and I put a disclaimer statement out there, that we cannot be held accountable for how you drive while listening to At Your End Stuff.
That's true.
So,
random bouts of hilarity might ensue, and if you can't handle that, well, then you might want to pull over to a safe place to listen to the show.
Warning, dangerous laughter ahead. So like dangerous curves, only funnier.
Yeah. Like dangerous curves, only less attractive.
Oh, that's definitely true of this cast.
But unlike the Palooza, this will be a bit of a shorter episode, not a whole lot. Obviously, the post pre-release episodes are a little dry, typically, and especially since I didn't do any pre-releases, and I know Dave didn't do any pre-releases.
Nope.
So
I had a busy weekend.
You certainly did, and we'll get into that. That is one of our community topics as well. That's actually all of our community, pretty much. It's just pre-release and things that happened at pre-releases. And then the main bulk of the episode is going to be Star City Games. We have the Columbus Open. That's going to be the our favorite, the week of release. So of course we want to buy a lot of expensive cards and try to play decks. And some of us do it at the very least. Me mainly. So we want to go over that and kind of give you guys a bit of a potential preview for what might be there. But it's really an open field, so we'll see what happens. And then we have our typical wrap-up stuff. So let's get talking about these pre-releases. Now, Dave and I don't really have any stories because we didn't go to any because we just didn't really want to. Dave was busy. I just didn't want to. I spent time with my fiance, and that was fine.
Yeah, I didn't really... It's kind of weird. Like, I don't normally go to pre-releases anyway.
Yeah.
I'll go to one here and there, but this one I just didn't really have any desire to. And it's not because the set was bad or anything like that. I think the set's pretty good. Especially looks pretty interesting from a limited standpoint. But I don't know. It's the summer. I had other things going on.
I do wonder, and this is just a what if question going forward. But I do wonder if the increased amount of pre-releases will be subjected to under the new rotation cycle, will cause more of this sort of like lethargy with it, like
a little bit more increased fatigue.
Right. I mean, we literally had a set last month with Eternal Masters, and then we're gonna have a set next month with Conspiracy, and then we're gonna have a set in October. So I hope I'm excited for all these things, but there is also sort of the how much a limit on how much energy you can expel mentally. And there's a wallet limit for most of us.
Yeah, for sure. So. It's definitely, you can only spend so much in actuality. So it's definitely rough to try to attend, especially when you have it open across, and you could try to run the gambit of getting cards you need for your decks, but it's like that's sometimes a difficult thing to do. Pre-releases are a little bit more swingy than your typical events, so it's not like you can just bank on getting what you need from 1 or 2 pre-releases.
Yeah, I think for me also, like, one of the things is, like, I kind of have to, like, ration my Magic time
yeah
in a way, and I knew the Open is coming up this weekend, and I'm going to be gone, like, for the whole weekend playing in that, so I'm like, okay, well, we need family time. Pre-release isn't that important to me. That's fine. I don't have to go to that.
It's a very, like, low EV tournament typically, so
I literally only went with my wife for the one I played, so
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. So
but you were doing something else during pre-releases. You went with your wife to do Two-Headed Giant.
Yeah, we did Two-Headed Giant, and we didn't do well, but it was fun. The set was fun to open. I will say, they do keep giving us some cool things for these pre-releases, and I'm sure they posted us somewhere. I just didn't see it. But the double-sided foil zombie tokens that came in the pre-release kit, like, definitely put a big goofy smile on my face, and was like a really cool thing. And I don't know, that's the kind of stuff that, like, I don't want to say that makes a pre-release worth it, because it doesn't. But it is one of those things where you're just like, that's a lot better than, like, rolling a ball across a board to kill dragons. I know it's simple, but in all honesty, like, this was sweet. So, but yeah, we played. We didn't do very well. We, sealed being the format that it is, we played against some opponents whose mythics came down very fast and killed us. We had our whole, like, Two-Headed Giant board like, wrathed by a Nihiri's Judgment, because it's really cool when you have Two-Headed Giant. One person can just discard their hand and not really matter as long as the other person still has relevant spells. Ooh, so
yeah, it's a bit rough.
What are you gonna do? But it was fun. But yeah, so we did that on Saturday, and then Sunday I actually worked the event at Comic Town. It's something I talked to Judge John Paul Adams, a local L2, that if you have been to an event within this region of the country, you have probably met before, seen him pirouetting across he is distinct and noticeable because of his just sort of energy and personality, which is awesome. And he was very nice. And I told him a couple of times in the past that I was sort of interested in testing and working towards L1, and I had my rules advisor for the last 2 years, and he let me work with him on some, like, FNM events and doing some shadowing. So he let me come in and essentially run the event on Sunday. He's in a show which is make sure I have it's the Book of Merman, which is here in Columbus. Look it up. You can go see JP. There you go. That's now we're even.
There you go.
But I was the head judge of this event and ran it, and then I tested for L1 afterwards, and I passed.
Congratulations!
So I am now a level 1 judge.
Great.
All right.
Just another thing for me to be better than. No, I'm sorry.
Just another thing to hold over you two.
No, it was really cool. It was a really, really long day. It's been hot here in Columbus, and there were a lot of people in the store, which made it very warm. And I was on my feet the whole time, and I gained I definitely gained some new appreciation. Yeah, most of the events I'd done had been sort of smaller, and it was less of me, like, running the things and the stress of, like, making sure everything is out and doing this and doing this. I was like, woo, but I did it. I survived. I got a 92 on my judge test.
It's pretty high.
So I will say it's sad because Jordan was there, former cast member here. He when he tested, he got 100. So daggers to my soul. But
that's cool.
Yeah, so I still, if you're wondering if that, like, marks the I still plan on marks the end of me playing or something. No, I still plan on playing a bunch, but this way I can help judge some local events and gives me sort of an option if I ever reduce my capacity in the game to sort of stick with it. I really honestly, like, there was a judge conference last weekend. We had some friends go to, and they were just excited about some of the different. I don't know, I'm losing the term for it. I don't want to say classes, but essentially seminars that they had at the conference. And I do really like knowing the game better on a technical level, and I think this will help too. So
yeah, I'm
pretty excited. So you can address me as Your Royal Highness now when you
No.
Is that not the correct term for judge?
It is not.
Majesty.
No.
Honor. Your honor.
Close.
Yeah,
I'm not going to call you that, though. there's people that like work real hard to become that. So,
oh, did I just tell you that I worked real hard
for a day?
Wow, there was more time than that. That's fine. That's nice. Already diminishing my achievements. That's cool.
I mean, that's how this works here. I don't know how long you've been on this show, but I'm pretty sure that's all that happens.
No, we honestly like it. I'm pretty happy about it. It's not. It does nothing major. For me, in as much as that I now have sort of another set of options available to me within the game, and hopefully can help a little bit more. So,
yeah. I think it's an awesome thing to be able to do, and it might be something that I look into in the future as well, because why not? It's an interesting thing that you could do in the game, and we have such good connections within the judging community. It's something that you can kind of get looped in with fairly easy, and if you are passionate about it and want to do it, then I think it's something that you should do. But don't do it for like silly reasons like I just want to get like promos and stuff. Like don't do that. Like if you're gonna be a judge, be like Mike and be someone that. Yeah, I did it.
I don't know if you heard.
If you could be like Mike. I wanna be like Mike.
And do it because you want to have you want to be able to give back in a different way. So, but that's everything that happened over the weekend. Sorry guys, nothing else super exciting. Again, Mike, stealing all of the thunder for the weekend.
I also saw Ghostbusters.
Yeah, I cut my own hair. How's that?
That's ready. It shows.
Hey, your wife said my hair looked good. So.
Well, you normally wear a hat, so that's why it shows.
She was just surprised there's still hat there.
It literally shows.
Yeah.
You in the past you could say like I got a haircut, but you always wear a hat, so I'd be like
nobody would know.
Okay,
I'm proud of this. I have to show it off because I did it myself, and it isn't terrible.
So how hard was it to do the lightning bolts on both sides?
Well, you have a mirror, so it's pretty easy to make sure that you're doing it accurately and everything like that. So you just have to have a steady hand.
And whose number is that in the back of it?
Well, I don't have a good one for that. I'm
okay,
sorry.
I tried. I could have taken it real childish, but I didn't. So
I'm glad.
Looks like a couple sixes. One's upside down. I don't know. Were you going for 66 and the mirror got messed up, or?
I think that's
Oh look, I went childish. Isn't that crazy how that works?
Yeah, it looks like a 420 on there. I don't know what that means. You just is that an arithmetic problem that you have in your hair now? Oh, interesting.
Told you it's a Buckeye leaf.
Does it say yellow on there? I think you forgot a few letters.
Man.
I don't know.
Oh man, I really wish this was happening.
No,
next time.
I don't have any of that in my hair. If you see me at Columbus, you'll get to see my hair, and you'll be like, oh.
I'll be staying in a hotel with you, or a hotel room with you again really soon.
Yeah. Please don't do that. I get married in October. please don't do anything that can't be undone.
By then.
Hopefully.
Maybe.
Anyway, so that's pretty much everything for the community segment. Before we move into talking about Star City Games Columbus and our preparations for that, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, Comic Town. Comic Town is actually having a really awesome thing happen on FNM, Friday Night Magic. So they have two Win-A-Box events. So the standard tournament that starts at 7:30 is going to be Win-A-Box, and the draft is also going to be Win-A-Box. There will be modern FNM as well, but that is not Win-A-Box. Sorry. But we do have Team Metagame Gurus. Is it 4 members of Metagame Gurus that are going to be in attendance?
I believe so. I didn't see a set number on that.
Gotcha. Well, there will be certain members from Team Metagame Gurus in Comic Town. I believe they said they're going to be there from 9 to 11 or something of that persuasion.
I think it's 8.
8.
It starts at 8, yeah.
8, okay. And they're going to be spell slinging. So you can challenge a member of Team Metagame Gurus, and if you win, you get a pack of Eternal Masters, and then you also get a, deck locker from the BC, is it BCW? Yeah, BCW.
Yeah, that's one of their XLs. Yeah, honestly, it's really good value to beat them.
Yeah, for sure. So
beat them, crush them.
Yeah, it's really something fun that Comic Town is trying to do to get more spotlight on Team Metagame Gurus, which is sort of new in the grinding scene. The grinders aren't new, but the team is. Also, I know Comic Town has had a really good history with BCW Supplies as well, so it's awesome to see them kind of working together to bring the team there and give you guys a fun little thing to do during your win a box FNMs.
One quick thing to add, they'll be playing Standard, Modern, and Legacy.
Correct.
So you can challenge them in any one of those.
Right. So you can be like, I will play Legacy, you can play Standard, right? No, just kidding. Anyway, don't do that.
You will play Tiddlywinks, I will play Magic.
But yeah, definitely come out and give a challenge and see if you can get a pack of Eternal Masters and a sweet deck box. All right. So let's talk about Star City Games Columbus. Obviously, it's Standard. New Standard, Eldritch Moon's going to be coming out, and I know that we here on the cast have been trying to figure out what to play, what we like, and what we don't like, as far as that goes. So let's start on that. So what have we been trying to play?
I guess I'll start here because I've had, 6 or 7 decks loaded up and tried out. You mentioned in the show notes, Dave, that you talk about interactions, so I think that's where I'm going to start, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So some interactions and cards I wanted to explore. The first one I was really excited about was Hanwha Garrison. I played against it a few times in some testing, and was honestly was pleasantly surprised with how good the card seemed. So I wanted to see what you could do with it and what kind of shells worked with it. Looked for some interactions. The most obvious interaction for cards that people haven't really played in Standard in a while, the most obvious was Atarka's Command. And I can confirm, after having tested extensively, that Atarka's Command plus Hanwha Garrison is disgusting. I mean, absolutely disgusting. It's a casual 10 damage.
Yeah, it's definitely something that when Mike was talking about it and he brought up the words Atarka Command, I was like, can we make that work?
Man, we tried.
It was unfortunate. Yeah, I mean, I even tried a little bit on that deck and playing like more of a red-green like humans based version with Hamlet Captain, and like playing like not so great one drops like the green 1/2 that green tap, and then target attacking human gets +1/+1. I was like, this card's so bad, but.
So
maybe it's the card. It wasn't the card.
Mine, you could almost call it was a little more werewolf oriented when I first tried it. I was playing Village Messengers and trying those out, and the 2/1 green werewolf that has 5 activation cost transform. I do not know the name of the card off the top of my head.
The green 1-drop.
Yeah, it's a green Savannah Alliance, but honestly, so that card tested above average. Village Messenger is not very good. I tried out Hamlet Captain as well. Hamlet Captain and Hanwha Garrison are very good together. You could stack your triggers to
make your tokens.
Make your tokens huge. The battlements, the land that goes with Garrison, is also very good. And honestly, playing that shell, that's a deck where I want to try the Brutal Alliance, the one that we talked about in the Palooza, where it deals 1 damage. It has escalate and can deal 1 damage to each creature an opponent controls. You can give yourself trample. That card tested really, really well in certain matchups, especially where there were a lot of tokens present, but also interestingly enough against the Blue-White Spirits deck, because so much of the deck has one toughness that you could just blow them out with it. So there were some good things, but the deck as a whole felt really awkward, and like so many of the decks in this format do, it was prone to flooding because it doesn't have access to some of the great things that Bant does, and it was really weak to Reflector Mage, and in testing couldn't get it there. So if you've been playing with that shell, I would suggest let me know where you're at with it. I wanted to do it. Incendiary Flow was great.
Yeah,
glad to have that card around. So there was a lot of really good cards, but the deck just it
just didn't feel right, especially with what was showing up during testing. And that was kind of the unfortunate thing. Deck sometimes just couldn't beat Languish, which is pretty difficult. But it showed promise, and I really think it's really unfortunate because we don't get anything else while Atarka's Command is still in the format. So it's this is kind of its last time, and we have almost something, and maybe the format breaks away, we don't see it, and that becomes viable. But it had good draws, but it didn't convince me, I should say.
So I wanted to keep testing Garrison, and I also tried it in a couple other shells. I tried red-black mid-range with Olivia's, and Thunderbreak Regents and some Mirrorwing Dragons and Goblin Merc Dwellers. The only 2-drop I was trying in the initial build was the Air Falconwrath, and then just a lot of burn-based removal. And that deck also has some sweet draws. I don't know if you know this, but if you discard a card like, Fiery Temper to give your Hammer Garrison haste and then attack with that in your Olivia, you are riding high, so to speak. And like that deck, there were a bunch of decks like that, those red-black style decks early in the format, people trying to see what they could do with Olivia. But again, the deck was very mana hungry. You didn't want to really take turns off to draw cards and play things like Read the Bones, but it felt like it desperately needed it. And again, like Thunderbird Region is still very, very good. It's a 4/4 play, on turn 4. And they still just Reflector Mage it. It doesn't matter. And I literally stopped playing the deck the first time that I got a Thunderbird Region Spellcaller. I was like, I'm done. This is beyond frustrating. I don't even have a way to like interact with this spirit as an instant because again, incendiary flow is good, but like you could like, you're gonna play Grasp in this deck, and you're trying. It was rough. So the best deck I found for Hammer Garrison so far was Red White Eldrazi. That deck was not very different though from what you were playing before. You got Thalia, which was sweet. I also got cool interactions like I got to ultimate a Nahiri more than once to find the Hanweir Garrison with the land in play to flip it. So I have gotten to play Meld in testing, and if that card melds, your opponent dies quickly.
Okay, let me ask you this because I haven't seen it on Magic Online yet. When you meld it, is it like a giant?
It's
thing,
a regular size.
It just turns into a regular. That's disappointing.
I'm sorry, Dave.
I wish it was larger as well. So my preliminary testing of anything truly new centered around that card, and I think Morgan and I both tried really quickly to explore how if red was now deep enough to really give us a deck. I think you even tried mono red for a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I tried like a very, very rough build of mono red, and didn't really find anything that made sense, and it just didn't feel very good. Didn't feel very effective, I should say.
Yeah, I've played against a couple different mono red builds, and just like the red green, they have some draws that you're like, red's back, yeah. But then almost all of their powerful interaction, I mean, literally almost all of it is sorcery speed, and it's just so weird for an aggressive red deck to not have any sort of you're playing a game where you can't even in response do something to them. So your green opponent has infinite more actions to do as an instant than your red deck does. You can't. I mean, it's very frustrating because I know that this whole collective company being the outlaw number one here, right? But I know that they are still trying to work through the transition of this new block structure. But man, I wish I would have thought ahead on this a little bit because some of these colors, it's not even that one or two cards are more powerful. It's I want to play these new cards you've printed. I really do. But they're not as good as these cards. They just aren't.
Not even close.
And it's frustrating.
Yeah, you talk about green having instant speed. I mean, blue and white got a huge uptick with this set as well.
Oh, absolutely. But I'm just saying blue and white having instant speed answers, especially blue, makes sense. Green having all these instant answers still, it just doesn't make any sense. So it's frustrating. Decks show promise, but you just don't know if they can break through the big bads of the format. So that's at least where my testing took me. So I've now sort of moved back to some more established decks. That isn't to say we haven't looked at a couple spicy ones. I know Dave and I have been exploring the Emerge decks.
I wouldn't say that I'm exploring them. But I've been thinking about them. So I haven't really tested.
Thank you, Sean McLaren.
Yeah, I think Elder Deep Fiend is, I think, one of the best cards of the set, and definitely it makes you think about the interaction with, I think, Kozilek's Return is huge. And, we see Jerry Thompson wrote about this deck last week, and I kind of was like, okay, this is maybe something I could play. I have most of the cards for this. I'm interested. He seems to think that the deck is super good, even in the early iteration that we have.
I think he actually called it the best deck in the format, not just super
good.
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, it's not even. We haven't even hit week 1 yet, so it's hard to.
It's also hard to just like call the guy a liar. Like,
oh yeah,
like, so.
I'm not saying he's a liar, but I'm just saying
I know.
it's hard to say at this point in the game. Like, yeah, I mean, I don't doubt that it's very good and it has really good.
So again, if we're talking about interactions, right?
Yeah,
that interaction between Elder Deep Fiend and Kozilek's Return, and honestly, the emerge cards in general and Kozilek's Return is very, very good. If you looked at Jerry T's list, half of that deck is a draft trash deck. There's Pilgrim's Eyes in this deck, okay?
Yeah. Yep.
And sometimes you are more happy than you've ever been in your life to see a Pilgrim's Eye because you're like, oh, cool, I get to wipe my opponent's board on their turn. That's cool. So it's pretty interesting. So those are decks we've looked at, and I know Morgan, you've been testing Delirium.
Correct.
Because it's crazy.
So I think like when you look at Delirium, you have to look at more as like this is a green-black mid-range deck. This is what I'm actually building. And then how do I, still build this deck that is good in its own merits and still try to be able to get some payoff cards in there. So you have Grimflayer, and then you have Ishkana, the Graph Widow. And I think like those are, your two actual, payoff cards when you're trying to look at green-black.
Just an aside, did you pick up your Ishkanaz when they were $3 or $4?
I did.
Or? Oh, okay.
Correct. I picked up my playset when they were cheap.
They're what, like 12 to 15
Correct.
Now or something?
They're very expensive now.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the strategy that I'm trying to go about it with, and trying a bunch of different cards and trying to figure out what's right and getting that right. In between of like this is just a good mid range deck and not like trying to subvert it so much with Delirium enablers, if it were. So that's been the difficult part. I think I used Brad Nelson's initial list as my basis and kind of have built from there. Judging from what I have been testing against, things like Ultimate Price feel really awkward when you're talking about things, especially the Emerge deck being very popular. It doesn't kill anything, at all in that deck. So Ultimate Price, I feel like is going to be seeing a downtick. And then I know a lot of people have actually been writing about having to play things like Murder, just for the sheer fact that you need an instant speed way to deal with their giant 5/6 flash creature that taps all your lands. So I've decided to start playing some Murders. Also been testing a bunch of different sort of combination of like 1-mana cantrips / Delirium enablers, and trying to find like which one is better to try and play. And kind of been tossing back and forth on that as to what should be in that slot. A lot of times you want Oath of Nissa just to be in your graveyard more than you want it to be on the battlefield, which is fairly awkward. But so just trying to decide on that and whether it should be something else or not. But yeah, you guys have any other like sort of specific questions as to what's going on with the deck?
Yeah, I was just going to add on to Delirium. I think is it's super interesting right now. Just with the format being so new, we don't really know what the Delirium deck is supposed to look like.
Yeah,
or quote unquote supposed to look like. You know what I mean? I think there's a couple of different ways you can go with it. I think that the tools are there. Where like if you wanted to take a little bit of an aggressive slant, like and you wanted to play Gnarlwood Dryads and Grimflayers, and just kind of curve out, and then eventually once you hit Delirium, your cards just get just powered up. I think you can go that route with it. You could also go like a slower route where like if you want to play like Traverse the Elven Wilds and like Emrakul and stuff like that, you can kind of create this, I guess, more mid-rangey, more like trying to extend the game out long enough where like you can cast Emrakul. So, like, you have to figure out what your deck wants to do there, and then it's also, like, how hard do you want to push Delirium? Like, do you want to play, Terrarian or whatever, or random artifacts in your deck that will help you hit Delirium, but otherwise aren't really that impressive?
Wicker Witch. Wicker Witch all day.
Yeah. So I think it'd be interesting to see, like, where it ends up. I think a deck is definitely there. I think the cards are powerful. I mean, you get things like Liliana, and I think Grimflayer is super good, and Ishkana seems like it's really good in the format. So
playing with a deck like Liliana is sweet. It allows you just to kill little things or shrink, threats basically, and being able to rebuy all of your all of your relevant creatures in late game is so good. I've definitely been able just to loop Ishkanaz, which is insane. You're just like, play one, play another one, kill this one, rebuy it with Liliana, and just make a bunch of spiders, and that's perfect. That's clean living right there.
You spawn a bunch of spiders,
right? I think it's also interesting to see where Mind Rack Demon is in the format. I played with that card a little bit, and it definitely is. A big threat, and having something that is able to block an Avacyn is fine, but man, sometimes that card just doesn't quite do what you need it to, and I feel like when you're playing that card against the Bant Company decks, that's going to be a tough sell a lot of the time. So that's something you have to worry about, but it is good to have a flyer against some of the Emerge decks because they don't really have a profitable way of dealing with a flyer necessarily, or that could be your avenue to victories by having a flyer and flying over their creatures while you have infinite blockers from your Ishkana or something like that. So it's definitely interesting, and I agree with you, Dave, that there are a lot of powerful cards that do a lot of the good things for the deck, but it's just finding the right combination that fits.
Yeah, and maybe the answer is just maybe just the seasons past black green deck. Maybe that's just the way to go, and you're not even playing Delirium. Yeah, maybe that's still just the best version. Who knows? Yeah,
I think it's interesting. I have now tested a little bit with Morgan and also with Jordan, who's also on that deck, but his version's a little bit different. He was playing Traverses and Emrakul when we were testing. 1 second. Excuse me. And Traverses were terrible. He hated them. Now, interesting, he said I don't think his deck was constructed very similarly to the one that Morgan's describing. So I think Traverse may have been poor in that deck for that reason, but the testing really showed that this card was consistently getting a basic land and just being too slow. He was also playing Emrakul, and man, that card felt underwhelming, which is really rough to say about Emmy because, as we know, Steve married a tough woman.
Yeah,
and
big powerful lady.
And honestly, it's been very interesting. He casted against me a number of times in testing. I was playing at that point the blue-red, not Emerge, but the Eldrazi ramp deck with some updates. And yeah, I just he couldn't kill me with it, and it would just die when I got to take the next turn. Now, awkwardly, the first time that I said, okay, I'll take my next turn, he got confused. Don't be that guy. Don't be the guy who expects to take the next turn and then you lose the game. But I think Emrakul's interesting. I think you have to build your deck so that you can create the board state where it wins the game. Now you could argue with maybe Liliana, you don't have to do that, but tapping out for one big guy, if the board state isn't right, I think a lot of people are going to throw games away with Emrakul. So you got to be careful.
Yeah, I think also, we're working with rough test decks.
Oh,
so
yeah,
I don't know.
Sure.
I wouldn't say, oh well, Emrakul's bad, but
distinctly not what I said.
Okay, is it underwhelming?
Yes.
Right.
I think those are very different ideas.
Yeah, and maybe this isn't the deck for it. It would seem like this is the natural fit for Emrakul, but maybe it goes more into something like an Esper control deck or something like that. You know what I mean? Maybe that deck is able to better control the board, and then by the time you cast your Emrakul, that's just going to shut the door. So there's a lot of uncertainty out there. I think what we do know is that people are still going to play green white tokens, Bant Company, Bant Humans. I think these are all the best decks from before this set. I think they'll continue to be. I don't know if they'll still be the best decks now, but they'll still be played at least week one. You still have white red humans out there. One deck that I guess we didn't talk about yet is Spirits.
Now that deck a bunch too.
Yeah, Spell Queller in particular is a card that people are going to have to learn to play against. Play with and against, I should say. I think people are just going to have to get used to playing with cards like that again. Because, the comparison to fairies, I think, is very apt. Where, sometimes like spell starter spray. Like sometimes you want to hold it to actually counter something. Sometimes you just want to like create a board presence. So you just run it out there as a 2/3 flyer. You're not actually exiling anything with it. I think that's going to be a very frustrating card for people to play against, especially early on while we get used to what the format's going to be like.
Yeah, especially when, again, things like Incendiary Flow get to be a sorcery, which is like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I put a lot of time into that deck. That's the first deck that I put any sort of time into. And it's a real tempo deck. It really is. I think already you're seeing a ton of it, but we talked before about where does Unsubstantiate go? It's that deck. But there's a lot of things going against that deck already in the format, and I don't know how I feel about it. First off, Liliana, the Last Hope, is a very good planeswalker and kills almost all of the threats from that deck without having to do anything else. That's scary. Now, you can play games around it. You can use your Rattle Chains effectively, which that card is great now. But it's really rough when they're, essentially they have a removal spell on a stick that says kill target spirit. It's rough.
Yeah.
Additionally, if it doesn't play creatures consistently up the curve, it can have some issues. It doesn't really have a lot of raw power to it, and its draws can be a little average if your hand is like, a couple of Mausoleum Wanderers and like Unsubstantiates. Like, you're not winning that game. Like, you're just not going to. Some of the cards are really powerful. Spellcaller is very powerful. The interaction between any of the spirits and Essence Flux is incredible. I should point out, in case you don't know, because I've had people do this multiple times. First off, Spellqueller only counters a spell or exiles a spell 4 or less. Stop trying to counter Omnixilus, Avacyn, Chandra. I had a person try to do that twice and then suggest that something was bugged.
It's not just a counter spell.
Additionally, if you Essence Flux, say they try to kill your guy, and you Essence Flux your Spellqueller or your Spellcaller in response, you do not get to exile the spell that is still underneath the Spellcaller. The triggers do not work to let you do that. It leaves play and it comes back into play, meaning the way that it works is it wants to see the spell that is also part of the leaving exile clause. So it will never be able to see the spell when you do it. And a bunch of people in paper testing kept trying to say, okay, well, I'll reflicker my Spellqueller and exile the same spell. And it's like, no, show me how that works on the stack. And they're like, well, yeah, because as soon as it leaves, I'm like, no, there is no as soon as it leaves. It's part of the spell of Essence Flux, so it doesn't. So just be careful. Flickering it has a different effect than like bouncing it does, because people have talked about how it has the Oblivion Ring clause, and it does. So if you cast it and then you play like Unsubstantiate on it, then yeah, you can perma exile a spell. Doesn't work with the flickering though, so just be careful. So yeah, it's got a lot of really powerful effects in it. I will say Nibbles of Frost is real. If you remember Dungeon Geists, and that card was sweet back in Dark Ascension, this card has the potential to be much better. I know I've won a number of games by playing like Nibbles of Frost and Reflector Mage, and then you Essence Flux the Reflector Mage, triggering the Nibbles to tap down a guy and then bounce the guy with the Reflector Mage. And that's the kind of tempo play that opponent doesn't come back from. But your removal spells are essentially Declaration and maybe some Stasis Snares, and if you don't have a quick enough board, you will lose to Avacyn, you will lose to Mindwreck Demon, you will lose so hard to Ishkana, it's not even funny.
So, would you say? So Spirits has it obviously is going to rely a little bit more on synergy on some of the other decks in the format. Would you say that something like Bant Company might be like a better version of Spirits? Like obviously you don't have the spirit interactions, but as far as like your flash spells and like being able to play multiple cards at instant speed, like just to kind of throw off your opponent. Like that, it seems like that may be a better route to go. Like your overall, like your individual cards are better, and you're a little trickier.
So I would agree with a lot of the points. Your individual cards are better, and you probably are a little bit trickier. I will say that much of the Spirits deck does operate with Flash, because Rattle Chains sort of turns the deck into an all-out Flash deck. Outside of like most lists are running Reflector Mage of some amount, maybe some Thalias. So pretty much beyond that. Yes, the issue I think really with that deck compared to even like Bant Company, and this is where I just want to smash my head into the table here, but Bant Company, despite its mana still being somewhat atrocious, is trying to only cast like it's easier for them to cast like a green and a colorless or a blue and a colorless on turn 2, and then they can cast a green and a blue or a blue and a white on turn 3. The Spirits deck has a number of cards that really want you to push in different directions. Like they want you to play a bunch of blue, but also you know, how do you make your Spirits X1s or better than X1s? Maybe you want to play this Anafenza, right? Now you got to play double white in a mana base that really can't support double white, and you want to play Nibbles on turn 4, and you really can't do that. Maybe you want to play Avacyn, but you want to play these blue spells. So hilariously, to play some of the better cards, your mana might actually be worse, which reduces your trickiness. So I think the other real issue with the Spirits deck, what's going to be week 1, is that it's really bad against the first half of Kozilek's Return, and miserable against the second half. The first half you can at least play like Mausoleum Wanderer can get it, maybe Selfless Spirit can get it. Granted, Selfless Spirit can get it on the other half too, but the deck really rolls over to a really well-timed Kozilek's Return. One of the few instant speed mass removal tricks that we have, and if you're able to clear a bunch of rattle chains out, the deck may never recover. It doesn't have the card advantage that a company deck tends to have.
Okay.
So I think it's definitely good, and I think that's one of the decks that I would not be surprised to see in the top 8, because if you have a good run with that deck, it has tempo draws that can't be beat. It really does, but I don't know how I judge the deck against the format just yet.
Like it seems to me, and I haven't played Wither against it, so this is all just me just spitballing here. But it seems like, and much like with any tempo deck that we've seen, like if you're not able to keep up the pressure, it all just kind of like a house of cards. It all just comes down. Like you're not able to control the game enough where you're going to be able to hold your opponent back for very long. Like you just need to be able to like get ahead and then stay ahead for just long enough. And I don't know that the cards that we have right now in Standard, especially with, like I said, like with a card with a deck like Bant Company, where like just the deck is so powerful and has so much going on. Like I don't know that Spirits could hold something like that down for very long.
I agree with you, and the counter magic here in the format right now is not sort of ubiquitous enough to prepare for everything. Mm-hmm. And I will say, like, if you're a diehard Spirits person right now, you've been testing this deck, and you're like, no, I answer this question for me before you reassess anything else. How does that deck block effectively? Ever? Tell me how. And if your answer is sack my Selfless Spirit to make a block where I don't trade for any of my opponent's creatures, congrats, you have made the best scenario. There are some cool interactions that can do. You can go bigger. You can play Avacyn, and then Selfless Spirit and Avacyn gets real spicy because you can trigger it whenever you want to. And if you have 2 Selfless Spirits, you could possibly save your board while it happens. Ojtai's Command is great in Spirits because it gets back a lot of really tricky spells. Rattle Chains is an instant, Selfless Spirit is an instant. So all the interactions are sweet, but the draw really has to be there, or I think you're right, Dave. It's not going to beat a company consistently. Right. I will say the one thing it has over company, everything flies, and company notoriously does not fly very well.
Yep. Yeah, for sure.
Never passed pilot school.
Well, one thing you kind of touched on there, and I kind of want to circle back to, is Kozilek's Return. I think this is a card we were all like pretty excited about when it first got spoiled.
I think we all hated it when it first got spoiled because we thought this card was disgusting.
we all thought it was disgusting. Hadn't really lived up to it. I mean, it's seen some play, in the ramp decks for sure, but hasn't really taken over the format. But I think I think the time might be here. It's poised. And the reason is, like we said, that we have the Elder Deep Fiend being the biggest one, triggers it for. You don't have to pay 7 mana to do it. You're going to be paying like 4 mana, probably.
Oh, at instant speed.
At instant speed,
making both halves of Kozilek's Return instant speed is huge.
It's gross.
Yeah.
So that's a big one. Even something like Wretched Griff, which is maybe people maybe have overlooked that card a little bit, as a limited only. It's a base 7 mana card, so that also triggers it. These are all cards that are incorporated into Jerry Thompson's blue-red Emerge deck. So I think that Kozilek's Return is going to see a huge uptick, and I think it's important to know how it works when it's coming out of the graveyard. Like you mentioned, like Selfless Spirit can save you from a flashback. Kozilek's Return, well, if you're the one playing Kozilek's Return, just know that you don't have to actually you trigger it, and then if they respond with sacrificing their Selfless Spirit, you don't actually have to do the effect, right? So you could wait until the next Eldrazi you cast, I guess, to trigger that. So I think that's something that the people that don't know about that interaction are going to find out quickly. But that's the Kozilek's Return is something that is scary for me, and definitely I don't know. I'm probably going to end up playing humans, and I'm not excited to be playing against a bunch of Kozilek's Returns. We'll just put it that way.
Mm. Those decks still have to see them pretty consistently.
Right. I would say, the rest of the deck is pretty clunky against a really aggressive humans draw. So if they don't have the Kozilek's Return, then they're probably going to lose. But if they do, then it's pretty rough for humans.
Yeah, I think overall, if we look at this format, I'm excited because I think there actually will be more new decks than I would have given consideration to, just looking at the first start of the trickle of cards out of this. And Emerge really does seem like it might be a mechanic that pushes Standard strong away from what it was doing in the last format. Like, Collecting Company is still great. It literally gets better because this is as big as the card pool will be now with Collecting Company in existence. But yeah, I'm interested to see how, if all these decks are going to try and go over the top of all the creatures decks, what goes over top of these decks. So we have a number of ramp decks still running around. I know, Morgan, you started sort of looking at the Sam Blacklist. And
yeah, he had a Splendid Genesis ramp deck that...
Splendid Reclamation.
Reclamation, excuse me, yeah. Splendid Genesis, isn't that one of the special cards that Richard Garfield got made, I believe?
I think it is. Yeah. Or it's a greatest hits album for Genesis itself.
Yeah.
What is Splendid Reclamation?
It is return all land cards from your graveyard onto the battlefield tapped.
Yep. Okay.
So, basically, the deck used ways to discard your land cards, draw cards, as well as playing Jardyard Temples, and then cards that milled yourself. In order to play this on turn 4, have an explosive growth of mana, and be able to play lots of big things on turn 5.
Based on what I've seen consistently, like turn 5 World Breakers were pretty common with the deck, but there's also a couple of them were also playing like Bedlam Revelers.
Yes,
correct. Which is sweet because they would play Gather the Pack, and they would dump 5 cards in the graveyard, and then they could just play like these 3 or 4 mana Bedlam Revelers, discard their hand and draw 3 cards, and hope to hit a Reclamation because they discarded a bunch of lands. There were some sweet interactions. I don't know if the deck is good enough overall, but it was consistently pumping out turn 5 World Breakers. Now, the curve of Nissa's Pilgrimage into Explosive Vegetation will do that as well, so I don't know if one is necessarily better than the other. But again, if you're trying to go over the top of the other Kozilek's Return deck, then maybe World Breaker and Ulamog are the way to do it. P.S. I'm playing Ulamog this week.
You have talked a little bit about your blue-red Eldrazi ramp deck, the controlling deck, controlling version of ramp. That it became popular towards basically the tail end of the format.
It made it all up to 5% of the metagame, which for a deck that I consistently play, that's pretty impressive.
Right. But I mean, obviously, Elder Deep Fiend is a pretty big addition to this deck.
Yeah. So unlike the other Emerge decks, it's not trying as hard to cast it early, but it is still trying to abuse it. Like if you can still cast this card on turn 6 on your opponent's turn to tap him out, and then flashback Kozilek's Return, you can cast Ulamog whenever you feel like it. And testing has shown that to be disgusting even without the Emerge cost. Instant speed Kozilek's Returns are great, but I get to play counter spells as opposed to Pilgrim's Eyes. There's another. The nice thing, the thing that sort of drew this deck, the same reason Dave is looking at White-Red Humans, one of the reasons for that is not only its possible placement, but honestly because it can be difficult to get a lot of new cards and also to feel confident in spending that money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But so this deck is only interested in a couple new cards. Elder Deep Fiend, which has gotten more expensive. So what are you gonna do? Gaia Reach Sanitarium, which is great. Oh my gosh, that card has been, every time I see it, I'm just so happy to see it. And then Summary Dismissal is really a card out of the sideboard that has, whenever we all saw it, we said, oh, that counters an Ulamog cleanly. But then as these Emerge decks have shown up in testing, that card all of a sudden keeps getting better and better. And just today, I got to use it. Somebody cast, sack their Matter Reshaper, puts a Matter Reshaper trigger on the stack, casts Elder Deep Fiend, puts their tap trigger on the stack, and puts their Sanctum of Ugin trigger on the stack. and I cast Summary Dismissal, and none of those things happened.
Like, man, that would have been real bad for me.
It's like, oh man, this is weird. So you were down how many? Okay, I'm cool with this. I'm excited about this. I'm happy for where this went. And I think that card, if people really buy into the Emerge deck, I think there's going to be a number of really sad Emerge players who just sort of were like, this card's, this deck is broken, and their opponent's like Summary Dismissal, and they're like, let me read that card.
Yeah.
What is this?
And there's so many the cool thing is once you put that card in your deck. Now I'm not putting it in the main, but once you put that card in the deck, there's a lot of weird things in the format that you can randomly do this to, where you're just sort of like, huh? It's like, I'll kill your Hangerback Walker, and then hold on for a second because I got things to think about. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I'll tick up. I'll tick down the Sorin on something. Hold on for a second. I got to think about this for a second. You're like, oh man, I have so much power now.
You could even so if they cast a spell, you could kill their Hangerback Walker in response, and then trigger on the stack, and then counter. Yeah, that would be a nice one.
Oh yeah.
I do want to, since we brought up Hangerback Walker, I do want to say, man, that card feels real bad now.
Oh yeah.
You don't want to play that card.
It was already not great.
Yeah.
The deck that was playing it played it mainly because they could sacrifice it at will or use it to flip their Avacens. Really, that card was there to get sacrificed to Evolutionary Leap or flip Avacens for 0, unless you punt it. But sorry, Steve.
I'll just say this: people said that Hangerback Walker was washed up when Declaration of Stone was printed. And
I don't think we're saying it's washed up.
Yeah,
but it's getting it used to be the big crab on campus,
right?
Yeah,
right.
But now between those cards already being good and then Incendiary Flow being there as well, man, there's a lot of bad. And people are going to be playing that card because they know that Matter Reshaper is going to be good. So Exile Effects will be better, and that makes Mr. Walker
very sad.
Very sad. He'll go from Walker Texas Ranger to being used as a walker.
Well, if he'd go to
with little tennis balls on
him. I just have noticed that card's this card's kind of bad now. Incendiary Flow. Oh, it's just beautiful, clean answer. Great, perfect. Moving on. But yeah, so I mean, we pretty much have talked about what we kind of expect. I expect people to be playing Delirium decks. I expect people to be playing Emerge decks for sure. Just because that's what has gotten the most publicity out of this new set is people just just be playing Emerge and stuff like that. Do you guys expect anything to not show up?
What do you mean?
Previous decks that have been mainstays that
previous decks. I was going to say I still
or new decks that people talk about.
I still don't expect vampires. Sorry, guys.
Oh yeah, no, I don't expect that either.
Though I will say, zombies decks might be real.
Oh
That's
really?
That's a couple might be real. Liliana is the realest card in that deck. But,
pretty powerful.
Liliana and Diagraph Colossus together is an engine that I wasn't expecting, and I played against that in a couple matches, and I was just like, whoa, because the first time they cast it, it's all right, this is a 2/2, all right, and I'll kill it, and you're like, cool, I will mill 2 and get it back, and you're like, next time I can, now it's a 4/4, and you're like, oh well, I'll kill it, all right, okay, I'll mill 2 and I'll get it back, and now it's a 5/5 or a 6/6. I'm like, this is not going the direction I planned it to. Oh, and you still have 7 cards in hand. I don't like any of this. So I will say that interaction alone might be good enough to push that deck forward. But vampires still suck. I know,
literally.
Blood.
Yeah,
correct.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it'll be. I think the format will be interesting because I think. With the Emerge creatures, I think the Emerge creatures are going to do a lot to fight, I guess, the tyranny of green that we had, Dromoka's command decks. So I think it'll break that up a little bit. I think Green White Tokens is going to be less good than it was.
Gotcha.
Though I still think it'll be, a solid deck. I mean, it has pretty much all good cards in it, so there's no way it could be bad. But I think it definitely gets weaker. With a million Kozilek's returns running around and Elder Deep Fiends tapping all their things so that they can kill their planeswalkers. And so,
yeah. No, I definitely agree with you on that point in time. That's what I was going to trying to hint at. I don't think that Green White Tokens is going to be as good as it once was.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's not going to show up. I think it'll still probably be one of the most played decks, just because I think people that invested in that deck. There's a lot of rares and mythics in that deck.
Sure.
So I think the people that were playing that are probably not going to want to give up on it that easily. And it had a really good run of being one of the better standard decks we've seen in a long time. So I think people will stick on that deck at least for the first couple of weeks. Gotcha. We'll see how it shakes out. I'm really, really interested to see what happens at the Pro Tour, to see if people kind of if they're going to tweak green-white tokens to kind of fight some of the new things that we see in the format, or are we going to move away from green-white tokens into something else? I don't know.
Yeah,
so
it'll be interesting. Despite what I wish it would actually be true, I don't think there'll be any sort of harmless offering demonic pact decks.
No,
I wish that I could play that deck, very, very much so. But the deck doesn't seem like it's going to do what you want it to do a lot of the time, unfortunately.
Yeah, maybe at FNM.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Oh man, my opponent gives me the demonic pact. My upkeep trigger on the stack. Summary dismissal. What?
Then you lose the next turn. You have to win that turn, right?
No, it doesn't. It says choose one of the options that haven't been chosen before.
Okay, so then it's just a dead demonic pact.
Yeah, it's just the husk of its pact itself.
Okay.
There you go. You did
That's
it.
fair.
I'd be really proud of myself.
I know.
I would tell him. I would tell my opponent the rest of the match how much I enjoyed that cat. That I don't know why he ever got rid of that cat. It was the best pet I've ever had.
That was great. We named him Bitey.
Okay, well we named his face Bitey. We named his tail Snippies.
Anyway, anything else that you guys want to talk about as far as Columbus? Other than we'll be there and we hope to see everyone.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah,
that's pretty much.
Bring something, have fun.
Yeah, we're pretty lucky to sort of always be in the mix of the new format.
Lucky? I don't know if I'd call it lucky, but it's interesting to see.
Bitey and Snippy.
Yeah, Bitey and Snippy. I mean, it's definitely awesome to have Star City Games come to Columbus so regularly. I would say when there's a brand new format and we have to scramble to get cards, it's a little bit it's a little rough. But
sure.
Oh well, what are you gonna do?
Not for me. So I'm 99% sure I'm playing White Red Humans. So I just had to get Thalias.
Yeah, I think I need 5 or 6 cards.
Oh well,
so
yeah. You on the other hand, you're gonna have it rough.
Yeah, but it's all right. I already got all my cards, so it's fine. But yeah, that's pretty much everything. We hope to see you again. We hope to see you guys down there and to play some Magic and have a good time. So let's move on to the wrap up again this weekend. Star City Games Columbus. It's going to be standard. Sunday there's going to be classics that you can also attend and have a good time at.
Real quick here. If I do happen to play in the Modern Classic on Sunday, I may have to bring back an old friend.
She got a new friend, and
yeah.
Dave wants to see what's what.
He wants to rock the bedlam.
Yeah.
Right.
Bed in capital letters.
Right. He wants to rebel a little bit.
Yeah. So might be running that.
We're the bedlam reveler.
There's also going to be some GPs happening. So we have GP Sydney, Montreal, and Stockholm, which are going to be Shadows Block Limited. So that'll be awesome to see. Obviously, this is the first time we would get large scale event with a new format, as it were. And Sydney is even going to have coverage.
Yeah, see, they already have the video equipment there for the Pro Tour, which is
why not?
Week.
I just got so flustered. What?
I know.
So if you want to be up at 5 a.m, you could watch that.
Yeah, there you go.
Whenever that's going to be.
It makes sense they didn't have coverage for the last 2 months in any GPs because they had to charter a boat from the 1900s, the early 1900s, to let's charter a cruise liner to take our equipment across the seas.
It's not even like a traditional modern ship. It's just it's literally like a galleon.
It's a tugboat.
It's
a tugboat.
With
with a huge like stack in it with one smoke ring coming out the entire time.
I'm saying like a pirate ship. Like the winds weren't right, so they had to wait.
To go back to Mike's tugboat, is Mickey at the wheel?
Just whistling.
Is Steamboat Willie on his way down there?
It's Steamboat Willie Idle on his way to the Pro Tour.
Anyway, but that's awesome. So we actually get some coverage. Is Columbus going to be having video coverage as well?
Of course.
Yeah. Oh, well, not always, of course.
Well,
sometimes you have to ask.
I'm pretty sure it's like a horse, of course, or something like that.
I'm pretty sure the only opens that don't get video coverage were like when they did the random like two in one weekend.
Those were not so successful.
I don't think we'll be seeing that in the future. But there'll be video coverage. So I expect there to be high numbers for viewership on that because I think a lot of people are interested.
You got to see what's going on.
Yeah, even the pros want to know.
Oh, for sure. And then, of course, important to note that again, got some awesome things going on at Comic Town on Friday night for FNM, and then some open tables available as well as drafts on demand. So if you don't necessarily want to drive all the way to downtown Columbus and just want to go to Comic Town and do some Eldritch Moon Shadows over Innistrad drafts, there you go. Perfect spot to do that. I think that's everything for this week on the cast. If you want, definitely check us out on iTunes. Leave us a review. Subscribe to the podcast there. Or you can go through the Google Play, the Google Music application and subscribe to our podcast. Or download us from our website at yourendstep.com or through MTGcast. And if you do go through MTGcast, definitely feel free to donate to that wonderful service and download some awesome other shows to expand your Magic listenings. Also, we have a Twitter. It's just at @YourEndStep, or you can find us on Facebook. You can just do a quick search for we can do a quick search for Facebook.com/@YourEndStep. We also have stickers, by the way, guys. So this weekend, come find us. We will all have stickers on us, and if you want an @YourEndStep sticker, just ask for one, and we'll give it to you. It's great. Pop it on your deck box.
There's a good chance we might give you one if you don't ask for it, too.
Stick it on your face.
Hey, take the sticker.
Do whatever you want with it.
No.
Within reason.
Don't bleach anything.
within reason. Don't hurt anyone with it. How about that? Do not cause any harm.
I think mine's a more important step one.
yeah, don't bleach it. Don't put your own sticker on our sticker. Anyway, but that is going to be everything for this week. Dude, thank you for your time. I'll catch you next week. Bye.